Hi, my friends and family. This is Trey Smith, and you're watching Trey's Timeless 15 Minutes of Explain on YouTube and Odyssey. And today, my talk is called Consecrating into Your Blueprint, Essence, Epigenetics, and Trauma Bonds. Ever think of what an amazing gift this life is? And why is it that normal, obedient life seems like such a sin? Because it's not creative. You didn't make the choice. Sin means miss the mark in archery. It was a term taken from archery. And this episode is devoted to the memory of my friend Joe Pace, who just passed on a few days ago, who taught me that you can still consecrate your essence into service to the community even after you're disabled and wounded. He was an Iraq veteran who became the head of security for Food Not Bombs. What goes up must come down. Spinning wheel, got to go round. Drop all your troubles, it's crying sin. When you ride the painted pony in the spinning wheel again. I'm not scared of dying, 'cause I really care. I'm willing to risk it all to tell the truth to the entire world in peace, love, and harmless love and respect in here. You know, I can't tell what it means to die by being a zombie. Only dying will tell. Only living my dream. Only through living my dream will I ever get to pass out. And when I die, and when I'm dead and gone, at least you can watch this show, and my wisdom and tunes may just carry on. Well, they tell me that high up in the sky, waiting for me when I die. But between the day you're born and when you die, Lord, they never seem to hear deep in your cry. That as sure as the sun will shine, I got to share and do the fun play and works that's mine to give you and get kind. And the harder they come, the harder they fall. One and all. Consecrating into your blueprint, essence, epigenetics, and trauma bonds. I've been looking forward to doing this episode a long time. I thought I'd build my technique before I tried it. The idea came from a book. A beautiful English woman, perhaps a few years older than me, recently divorced. Very lovely, although I smelled alcohol on her. And I gave her a hug, and she said, "Take any book you want." It was already dark, and she was having a yard sale, and I just performed a set as my one-man band at Westcliff. So I chose this book by a brilliant Jewish MD named Richard Moss called The Black Butterfly. And several years after he got his MD, he had a God awakening, and he said he couldn't talk to people. He had to eat a little pieces of meat to ground out, and he felt the oneness completely. And then after that, he used his MD to do group therapy sessions and didn't use it to do anything that Rockefeller said. So within that book, he spoke about how during his awakening, he realized he had to go through a consecration. What is consecration? Consecration means it's very similar to what I call your blueprint. So that's why I call this video will also be called your consecrating into your blueprint, because consecration means devoting your whole life to God, or devoting your whole life to your divine purpose. Okay, so especially after my accident or my near death, but even before that, because of my soul, maybe perhaps having an indigo child type of disposition, I've always known I was here to help the world, to better the world in some way, if not just through my art and music, so forth. And so I knew my music and art talent came from past lives, and that it was not for me, but a gift to help service the oneness since I was little. So why is normal, obedient life a sin? Because you missed the mark of your blueprint. Because if you obey the Saturn Moon Matrix death trap reincarnation cycle, and you're so stressed out, again, the fear can completely block your intuitive, your higher dimensional capacities and abilities. So it's a sin because you never even know who you are. You never even know why you're in this body if you just toe the line. Each soul has, while you're in this particular incarnation, each soul has a reason or multiple purposes for each life. We all know that the point of life is to put food on the table, to pay the rent or the property tax or the mortgage. Mort gauge. Break it down phonetically. Mort gauge is the gauge of the value of your entire mortal life in extorted dollars? Question mark. That's my question. Is that what a mortgage is? Is the value of your whole life in extorted dollars? These often prevent these normal, again, Saturnian hell or elite constructs often prevent or box out or obscure or help us forget our intention in this incarnation, why we were born into this life, because we're too busy, the prefrontal cortex, we're too controlled by the base and second chakra, worrying about survival, to ever even realize why we're alive, man, unless we're, extremely wise or awakened soul. Most people, the majority, are just, that's why they're called zombies or cattle. That's what the elite think of them as. So these often prevent, obscure, or help us forget our intention. Also, of course, religious dogma, the scientism death cult dogma, which is the mainstream modern version. Your so-called friends, places. Of course, the epigenetics of a place can cause us to forget. Common tragedy of survival mode. Remember through your passions and talents. Okay, this is how you reclaim your essence in this lifetime, at least toward the end of it here, when you retire or when you decide to not be a slave and work only for the higher self. Okay, so what are you good at? What's your passion? What's your talent? I like teaching people spiritual awareness and truths and helping them to become real in the Christ, for example. Learn to use these to make a living. Even though I'm still not have not I've been extremely blocked by the dark side and trying to bring this to a professional level at the other end of the table. I'm an amateur. I'm just learning here, so it's helpful to begin service, like me, for example. I've been doing this only for 6 months by volunteering. Begin service by volunteering or gifting until you dial it in. This skill of service to the oneness. It's really helpful to go to astro.com and look at your astrocartography, the travel section, your astrocartography and epigenetics. Again, to see, you look at the state laws, you look at what's in style in each state. It's completely different. I say that USA it's like my 50 different children. Each state has the laws. I say the laws create the epigenetics so often, or influence it heavily. So my Chiron line runs through right here through Capitola, for example. So I know it came in a heavy rainstorm, and when the sun was in Scorpio, the moon was in Taurus. So I have a heavy affliction toward that, predilection toward this. So after 20 years, I have to ask myself, have I learned all there is to learn? Almost 20 years. Have I learned all there is to learn in that archetypes? You see, so once you once you begin some kind of service or help others, you realize you'll get more of a clue as to what you're here to do if you didn't know already. The 2020 lockdowns, the fear narratives, the same principle and origin also as being stuck in the fucking wage slavery, fear, the control by the dark side. Many folks before and many more since have become trauma bonded to their powerful, narcissistic abusers. In trauma bonding, your body becomes addicted to negative hormone release such as cortisol and oxytocin. I'm watching this lovely Australian psychologist interview with Dr. C today, speaking about that. And so I was trauma bonded to a collective narcissist who wanted me as a human puppy or, just a crazy, wounded, sick, mentally ill, homeless guy to rescue, crazy person to rescue, but not as a friend or equal. They didn't want me. When I started this channel, I could see they were losing interest in me because it was more important to have this. I called it a hero narcissist predator entity, but anyway, so obeying and believing the narcissistic predator entity's scripts of the fear-based reality control, people can be led to forget their essence, which is the Christ, the oneness, and personal blueprint. In other words, they forget their life's mission. To remember, use meditation and creating quiet time in nature. For example, to remember the old plan, to recall your reason for being here besides just existing or improving. I was studying this after school on YouTube about they just posted about the cognitive bias, the Dunning-Kruger effect. I see this all the time in people. When you know a little and you think you're an expert, this is how the dark side makes a lot of idiots think they're smart. How the dark side easily limits the normie's awareness. Again, this is an example also, even though it seems individualistic, it's a form of mind control of group think is mind flunk. You're around this part of the world, for example, you got high rent, survival confusion, where you think through solipsism, through experience with narcissistic predators around you, or people with NPEs, you believe it's a dog eat dog world that you got to fight for it, and starts to become real with some people if they don't have strong faith in the real Most High. So they forget the Christ within. They forget why they're alive. So to remember, you could possibly use meditation or cannabis helps sometimes. Creating quiet time in nature for the old plan. And the high rent, survival confusion, and the black magicians, especially around the West Coast here. And the acceptance of the extreme prevalence of narcissistic personalities around you. And all these epigenetic factors can cause you to become trauma bonded or stuck in emotional reactions. In other words, getting addicted to the abuse, like Stockholm Syndrome. You get addicted to the mental or physical symptoms of cortisol or herpes, MRSA, Stockholm Syndrome. It's very sadomasochistic. It sucks even worse if you're raised Catholic or CIA family to believe in this shit. So the answer is to move to an energetically healthier region or even simply healthier neighborhood in your county or spend more time there and do the shadow work. Make sure that's the number one thing, to do the shadow work to clear your addiction to suffering and martyrdom. Okay? A lot of people around here got an addiction to martyrdom. They think suffering is going to help them. And so clear your addiction to suffering and martyrdom through strong discernment, awareness, knowing when it is about to happen, and refusing to feed loose to the interdimensional parasites. Knowledge is power, and half